Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a long time since I did a video. I didn't actually realize that my channel was doing so well in my absence. So here I am, coming back. There we go. Okay. So this video is my intention to show you how to crochet. Yes, I do several arts and crafts, and one of them, I actually started crocheting back in 4th grade. I'm now 38. I stopped crocheting for a very long time, and then when I was in the Army, somebody picked it up, and we all kind of picked it up in the barracks, and I got a refresher course from my stepmom, and since then I prefer knitting because my hands don't cramp as much, but I still do know how and do crochet on occasion, specifically when making blankets or afghans. So for crochet, that's for a video I'll be doing momentarily, you do a slip knot. So starting with a slip knot, you're gonna make a loop. It's just like a circle. Okay, so I have an X. Do you see my X? I'm gonna grab the longer thread and bring it through. Not the short one, the long one. And that long one is gonna stay sticking out. I need that over here. And I'm using very contrasting colors on purpose so it's easier to see. Okay, so now that is what we call a slip stitch. The reason it is a slip stitch is because it slips. I can expand this as much as I need to for whatever size hook I am using, okay? So that's a slip stitch. On this first row, make sure it is loose, and I do mean loose. I don't mean make it so tight that it squeaks over your hook. That's not good. Make it loose enough to where you can work with it, okay? Now, the way I'm holding this, I'm holding the right side in place on my crochet hook, and I'm doing this in order to keep it from going where I would not like it to go. That's a control thing. In my left hand, it is going between my pinky, so the ball of yarn goes behind my hand, between my pinky and my ring finger. That's going to come back up and over these two fingers and back up here. Okay, you guys got that? So again, my working yarn is towards me. The ball of yarn is behind my hand, okay? Now the reason this is because my pinky and my ring finger both control my tension. So depending on, of course, I'm wearing a very fat new ring that I've never crocheted wearing before. That's my tension, okay? So I can hold that in place, or I can open my finger just a little and give myself some working room. Of course, I tightened up my slip knot, so let's loosen that back up. Okay. Now, my crochet hook is facing up, and this is just a start. Now my fingers are still holding the tension on the yarn. You'll see me grab this hand and kind of move everything a lot. Don't be surprised by that. It's just me adjusting my grip because sometimes I tend to grab harder. Okay, so that is where I'm holding. Okay, so I have free movement. I can move the hook back and forth. And now what I'm going to do is reach underneath the yarn. Okay, I'm reaching under, using that hook, spinning it, and pulling it through. Okay, again, loose. See how big that loop is? There's a reason this has to be loose. It's because when you get to the end of your project and you go to finish, say you're doing a scarf. Okay, when you get to the end and you go to cast off, actually that's the knitting term, I gotta remember what it is for crocheting. When you go to finish your project, Actually, when you go to finish a project, it's super easy. And that last row is going to be very loose, and this end would be very tight, and they'd be uneven. And that's not what you want. So I'm going very loose. Again, I'm holding onto my yarn, going under, grabbing. Oh, I missed it. There we go. Twisting and pulling. Now, what happens is, if you look in here, do you see that pretty skinny spot? Of course I've got, let's see if I can, there you go, there's a good backdrop. See that skinny spot? When you go to pull through there, sometimes your hook will get caught in there. That's why I point the hook down, because it makes it easy to come through. I hope you guys can see that. I'm outside because previous videos at my old house were commented that it was too dark, and they were not wrong. I just, I didn't know anything about it back then. They're 7 years old. So we're outside in the nice sunny day, and so I'm gonna go ahead and go for 10. So this is called the chain stitch, and I'm gonna chain 10. So, of course it would help if it wasn't hooked on stuff. And again, doing this all very loosely. You're more than welcome to go back and replay it if you're not understanding what I'm doing. Okay, so this is chaining 10, give or take, because I didn't count the first few. Okay, so let's say you've done your chain row, okay? And now you need to go back the other way, because I mean, what are you going to do with a chained row? You're not going to get very far with it. So now you have to go backwards. So what's going to happen is this row, if I want 10 stitches per row, this first row is going to have 11. And the reason is because number 11 is going to come up the side and start into the second row. Now if you look, I picked the wrong yarn for this. Let's see if you guys can see it. So if you look, there's kind of like a braid looking thing going on here. And this braid, let me give you something to contrast it with. So if you look, there's kind of 2 stitches right there and 1 behind. I call it a braid. That's probably not what most people call it. Okay, so what's going to happen is the 2 stitches are going to face down, and I'm going to grab that 1 stitch that's behind. And I'm skipping this first one because it's number 11, remember? So that 11 is going to keep it from cinching down. So I'm going to go into that 1 stitch on the back, grab it, and now I have 2 stitches on my hook. So what we have here is the first half of a single crochet stitch. So now that I have both of those in there, my first part was to go in and grab the back of the chain stitch. Now that I have 2 on here, I'm just going to hook my yarn and come through here, and that is a single crochet. That is an SC on the charts, okay? So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to stick my hook behind this stitch here. Now I have the 1 here and the 2 there, see those 2? And I'm going to hook, pull through, there's the first half, and then I'm going to grab and pull. That is a single crochet. So it's a 2-step process after you have pulled it through. So again, through the back of the braid, you guys see the braid there, grab my yarn, pull through, grab my yarn, pull through 2. Okay, again, this is single crochet, going through the chain stitch, come on, cooperate, grabbing my yarn through the first stitch, leaving 1 on the hook, grabbing my yarn, going through both. Okay. surprisingly difficult to look around a camera while trying to do this. And I apologize if it's windy. We get wind every afternoon, but it's too hot to do it during the day because it's the middle of summer. Okay, now I'm at the end. So here's my slip stitch right here on my finger. I'm going to grab that single right there. And just do what I've been doing. Okay? And that is one row of single crochet. Let's see if that focuses. Of course not, why would it? Okay, so now you want to do the next row, right? We're going to chain one. Remember that first row? Chain one. That's it. And turn your work. Now, we no longer have to work on that single stitch. Now we are working in this lovely hole right there, which gives us 2 pieces of yarn to work with. So I'm going to go in, grab and pull through. Another single crochet. Found my next hole, grab, pull through. Find my hole, step 1, step 2. Find my hole, and again, both threads, both yarn, grab them both. At the end again. Okay. Now again, going up 1, that's a chain 1, and then I'm going in the first hole. See that first hole right there? I always go in the first hole closest because if you skip that hole, you will lose a stitch. And it's easier to get in that hole than it is the one at the end. And I will show you what I'm talking about when I get to the end. And this is all you're doing. You're just repeating this for every single row, unless your pattern calls for a different stitch. Okay? And I'll tell you about that in a second. Now, if I had not gone in that first hole at the beginning of the row, I would have to add 1 down here, and it does not look good. If you look, we have consistency. Maybe now it'll focus better. We have consistency. It's the same length. I'm not losing a stitch halfway through, or, you know, on every row. It keeps going. Okay. That is your chain stitch plus a single crochet and going back and forth. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you a double crochet. So a double crochet. Remember how we did 1 single chain for a single crochet row? Now, well, we're doing a double crochet. We need 2 chains. And we're going to turn our work. Okay? Back now, for a double crochet, you need more yarn. Okay? So you're going to grab yarn and hold it on your crochet hook. Got it? So I'm coming from the back, just like I would with actual crocheting. I'm going to hold it there, and then watch this. I'm going to go in the hole, like I told you, come through, grab 1. Then I'm going to do like I did a single crochet, and leave 1 on the hook for the single crochet. Here comes your double crochet, right there. Okay? Let's do it again. So wrap around, back to front, over the top, find my hole, go through, okay, over the top, grabbing 2, over the top, grabbing 3. That is the end of a double crochet. Okay, I'll finish this row, over the top, through the hole, over the top, through the hole, over the top, through 2 holes, over the top, through 2 holes. You see how much taller that stitch is than the previous stitch? Okay. Over the top, through the hole, through 1 hole, over the top, through 2 holes, over the top, through 2 holes, over the top, through the hole, over the top, through 1 hole, over the top, through 2 holes, over the top, through 2 holes, over the top, through 1 hole, 2 holes, 2 holes. Now, a lot of people don't like to hold their crochet hook like this. This is probably why my hands cramp. It's because of the way I hold this crochet hook. But old habits die hard. So, that being said, another way to hold it is overhand. I don't know how to do this. I am not very good at it. I do it when my hand cramps and I'm on a mission, but otherwise, not so much. So if you look at the size of these double crochets, versus the singles, you get much more air, more holes. Okay? Now coming back to the chain stitch, I hope this shows up well. If you look, it looks like a braid because we only grabbed the single stitch in the back. Here. I'm going to borrow my hook real quick, just so I have something more contrasting than my finger. Okay. See? If you look, it's like that all the way down. Alright, so there are the first 3 easy crochet steps for you. If you need to see the double crochet, just go ahead and rewind it a little bit. And if you look, this is not overly tight compared to this. It's still less stretchy than the top, but it's more even than it would be if the chain stitch had been super tight. So it's super important that you pay attention to how loose that bottom stitch is, because no matter what, it's going to look pretty because it looks like a braid. Okay? And if you ever have to like travel, you can take this loop that your hook goes in and make like a quick knot, and then you can travel and put your hook in it later. Okay? And it holds. It won't go anywhere. It won't unravel. It'll just keep going. That is how you do a chain stitch, a single crochet, and a double crochet. Most stitches are based off of the single crochet and the double crochet. There's a treble crochet, there's a half double crochet, there's so many different stitches, and they all basically have the same hooking and looping process. So, hope that helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them for you now that I know how to work YouTube. And it won't take me 7 years like it did on previous videos. So, thanks for spending your time here, and have a good one.